Okay. Once again, I welcome every one of us to our food safety program. For those of us who joined after the started, just to inform that we had started last week. The essence of this is to recap, remind us of what was discussed, and today we'll be concluding. Is a free food safety class. We have a passion to ensure that people are aware of food safety, people are conscious just to prevent foodborne illnesses that is very common in town. Okay, for now, we started and we are continuing this Saturday. It's a 2-hour section. Um, we also need to emphasize that for those of us that will go beyond just learning, but have a certification for it, the UK Food Safety Level 1 and 2, you get in touch with us. We'll display the details on the screen very soon. You get in touch with us. You do a test. For those of us that will go for certification, there will be a test that will be sent to you, and you're expected to do the test and get submit the answers to us. And then there's a payment. Our food safety level 1 and 2 and the HACCP hazard analysis critical control point usually goes for 25,000 naira UK certification. But for the visual class and the discount for the period, we are working with 15,000 naira per person for 3 certification UK food safety level 1 and level 2. And then we're also going to issue you hazard analysis critical control point, which will be handled fully today by Mr. Gidadu Sambari from NAFDAC. Um, so emphasis is that if you go to all of this process, then all of the materials, these materials, videos, and other materials will be sent to you for those of us that will register. You get in touch with us, indicate your interest for that. We're going to send you all the materials, send you the test, an objective test that you're going to do, get back the answers, submit answers, and then make a payment and you process your certification process. So at this point in time, we'll continue with our slide. Please allow, let me know if things are going wrong. Last time we started the slide. That's a UK food safety 1 and 2 HACCP program. All of that mentioned. Let's not forget we are duly accredited by the National Industrial Safety Council of Nigeria. We are DPR accredited, and then Nigerian Red Cross Society, St. John's Ambulance. Our newest certification is UK SHE organization as the issuance of the UK Food Safety Level 1 and 2 certificates. This is Galaxie Consult, speaking for Galaxie Consult. And so last time we also did an overview of who we are. These are the introductory part for those of us that missed it. But I think we're going to send it to some of you that will be participating in the exams. So all of this, most of the topics here have been discussed. The video also emphasized on that. We introduced food safety. We talked about why our food get poisoned, the cause of poor food safety hygiene, and the consequences. We looked at the hazards of food last week. We mentioned that we have physical hazard, we have chemical hazard, biological hazard, and then allergies. There are more videos that we will get to see as before the end of the day. We looked at physical hazard, all matters that can be found in food not supposed to be there, and how to control them. We looked at chemical hazard, all kinds of chemical in our food, how to control them. We looked at allergies, what you are allergic to, and how to avoid them. We also looked at biological hazards, and then we saw the molena, we saw other biological hazards, and what encourages food to do well in the food industry, the food poisoning situation. Okay. Okay, I think we'll stop around there. So I'll do a concluding part of our slide, And then we have Gidato from NAFDAC telling us about HACCP with one or two clips more to watch. And that will make provision for questioning and answering sections toward the end of the lectures. And so, continuing from food hazard biological, we mentioned that spoilage commences in food as soon as it is harvested, taken from the sea or slaughtered, caused by bacteria, molds, and yeast. Poor hygiene practices, poor temperature control, inadequate packaging, bad handling by the food handlers can contribute to food spoilage. Unlike when food is contaminated by pathogen, the effect of food spoilage can be felt, tasted, and smelled. How do you know the food is bad? Packaging is very important. Whenever packaged food are open, they should be treated as fresh food and refrigerated properly. The manufacturer must have also indicated precautionary measures on how to handle most packaged food. How do you know if food is bad? We have bad colors, discoloration. It's going to be sticky, slimy. There will be mold growth, fungi growth. There will be changes in the texture of the food. It will have an unusual taste. There will be production of gas, blown can or leaking packs. These are indications that your food is contaminated, your food is not normal. The integrity has been affected. It has started getting spoiled, and you take the appropriate action. We have a list of bacteria, their sources, their onset period, and then the signs and duration of illness. We have Salmonella there, Clostridium perfringens. We have Staphylococcus aureus, Clostridium botulinum, and a whole lot of other etc. E. coli, a whole lot of other bacteria that can be found in our food, and their sources: fresh meat, raw meat, from eggs, vegetable dust. We have from human staphylococcus, the skin, from raw milk from cow, goat, and then Clostridium botulinum. We have from fish, from meat, vegetables, etc. So these are food poisoning bacteria that we might come in contact with. But how do they get to us? We have vehicles and means of contamination. Cross-contamination is the transfer of bacteria from source to ready-to-eat food by either direct or indirect means. Directly, when one touches a raw meat, or the fluid from a raw raw meat drifts into ready-to-eat food. That's direct. While indirect can be via the food handler. The food is okay, but from the farm to the fork or to the restaurant, in between, the food handlers tampered, maybe they are infected, improper hygiene, and all of that could contribute to the food being contaminated. The vehicles at which this contamination takes place, we have the hand, our clothes, equipment, and contact surfaces, food contact surfaces. All these are mechanisms where our food can get poisoned or contaminated. We have the food poison chain, 3 points, food contamination. And then when the food is contaminated either by the surfaces, the individual, the food handler, or other means, by pests, new animals as insects and pests that could transfer the food, carry the germs or the bacteria into the food. When this happens, the bacteria multiplies. That's the second chain, and then over time, someone consumes this food and gets fell sick, depending on the level of immunity of the person. How do you prevent food contamination? We have mentioned that you purchase your food from approved suppliers. Make sure all food handlers are well trained, informed, supervised, instructed on the ways to handle food. That's one of what we're doing here. As a food handler, personal development, get yourself trained, get your staff trained and certified. High standard of personal hygiene can prevent food contamination. Effective separation of cooked food from raw food. Food contamination can be prevented when we have effective cleaning and disinfection of our food preparation areas. Well-designed food premises, purpose-built food premises. Effective pest control, one of the means of contamination. Effective storage and disposal of our waste. That's a topic ahead of us. Waste management, very, very important. Proper use of equipment and utensils. Not allowing dry food to get water, absorb water. It fast track the getting spoiled process easily, and then the use of disposable towel instead of a hand towel. Continuous usage can contaminate our food. Using suitable preservatives in our food, disposal of all contaminated, spoiled, unfit, or out of date food. When they are bad, no, not to be managed. How do you prevent contamination? Ensuring that allergic food are not served to risk group, those who are allergic to it. Removing bacteria from ready to eat food by thorough washing. That's raw food, fresh food. Make sure they are thoroughly washed. Destroying bacteria in raw food by thorough cooking as well. Well cooked, the heating process, sterilization, canning, all of this has a way of taking away the biological agents, especially in our food, and then ensure that food are stored out of the danger zone. Last week, we talked about must be within the range of 5 degrees Celsius to 63 degrees Celsius. That's what we call the danger zone. That food shouldn't be for a long time. And then cooling the food as quick as possible. One good method of preventing contamination is what we call the first in, first out principle. That's what we call good stock rotation, FIFO, first in, first out. Then ensure there's clean food preparation area. It has its own contribution to prevent contamination. And then not using wash hand basin for washing your equipment. So these are more like a clean working environment. The center part of the cooked food should achieve 70 to 75 degrees Celsius when being cooked. That's thorough cooking. Our ingredients and our stews should be well stirred when cooking to have an even distribution of the heat. Cover your utensils when they are not used. Clean and disinfected spoons should be used for testing. And then probes should be used to check the core temperature of your food. Of course, different probes for different food, or at best, make sure they are well disinfected before they are being reused. Food that is kept for serving should remain the temperature of 63 degrees Celsius and above, the bain-marie. Hot food remains hot, cold food remains cold. That should prevent the food from being at the danger zone, the danger temperature. The food that should be cold fastly. The ice bucket. So it's able the food to get colder than being in the same temperature danger zone. That's ice bath. Okay, 7 utensils should be in good condition, effectively clean and disinfected. Cutlery, cups should be held by the handle. We saw most of these things on the video I just showed us. All your food must be covered. 7 utensils should be longer than the food container so that they don't fall into the food. Customers should not be allowed to handle food except that has been handed over to them. Then there should be sneeze guard to protect the food from, for those of us who will be serving the public. Raw and ready to eat food must be kept entirely separate. We have food handlers should always wear their personal protective equipment, clothing as well. And then the blades of slicing machine should be cleaned and sanitized frequently. Okay, we mentioned that temperature probes must be cleaned and disinfected appropriately if you're using from one food to the other. And of course, they should be validated and calibrated appropriately. We also mentioned that personal hygiene can never be overemphasized by food handlers. Food handlers have a moral and legal obligation to ensure high standard of personal hygiene so they do not contaminate food. That's what we call duty of care. They have a duty of care to protect themselves and others by their actions and their inactions. So it's expected that all food handlers maintain personal hygiene. Food handlers are potentially the most serious hazard in food business. It is in this regard that all food handlers should ensure the following: take care of their hands and wash them effectively. You know, we have when to wash our hands. Wash hands before handling food. And then you also need to wash your hand after handling all of this. Going to the toilet, that's convenient. You wash your hand after sneezing and blowing of the nose, and you touching your hair, and after cleaning some items, after handling rubbish or after handling money, after handling raw food. The frequency of washing our hands can never be emphasized. That's the essence of a running tap in the kitchen or in the cooking environment. We have the hand washing steps here. You wet your hand, that's to make it soft, and then you use your soap. After you rub for a whole lot, 20-30 seconds. You rub the different parts, the hand washing procedure. You wash very well, go the back, the hands, and that's the NCDC new protocols. For the food safety, we also have a thorough hand washing process. Having rubbed for about 20-30 seconds, you rinse and then you dry with a paper towel, not a hand towel that will be used again and you get contaminated. Paper towel so that one can dispose immediately after use. How often should I change my gloves? As often as you wash your hands. So we have the disposable gloves that need to be worn, and dispose them as frequent as you can. Personal hygiene also emphasizes on keeping our fingernails short and clean. Food handlers should not use nail varnish. Avoid biting and licking your fingers. Report injuries or illnesses. Do not cough or sneeze around the food area. You flex elbow, or you just make sure you don't sneeze on the food. Do not scratch or pick your nose in food area. Do not wipe nose or mouth with sleeves. That's wrong, because of your clothes. Do not wipe your nose or mouth with your sleeve. Cover cut to the skin with waterproof dressing. That's plasters and the hand gloves. Do not wear jewelries. This enables or hides some particles behind. In food safety, if you must wear jewelries, especially the wedding band, it must be plain type. That's the standard. You must wear a wedding band, the plain type, and not the designed, diamond ring and all that. It has a way of harboring some dirt within them. And then you don't shave or put on your perfume in the food area because it could deposit on the food and they're aerosol. So they don't hang your towel from the belt. All of these are personal hygiene mechanisms. Your hair should be tied backward and covered. Appropriate, suitable hair covering should be worn by food handlers. There should not be any form of combing or grooming of the hair where food are being prepared. And then we also change out of our personal clothing in where food are being prepared. Wear the appropriate PPE. Do not smoke in food areas. These are standards. Food handlers must wear clean, appropriate, washable cover clothing. It's washable and it should be clean. Virtually every day you need to get a new one. I mean, a washed one or a clean one to use. Outdoor clothing must not be brought into the food areas. Hands should not be wiped on protective clothing. And the protective clothing should be removed when visiting the convenient, the toilet. Food handlers should be in good health condition all the time. If you're having any foodborne illnesses like diarrhea, vomiting, or all that, you should be excluded from handling food for the safety of others. Go take care of yourself or your workers who are already in this category. They should be well treated. All food handlers should be aware of hygiene hazards associated with their job and how to control them. That's why we're in this kind of sections. All food handlers should undergo a food safety training as well. And then we have our food premises and equipment. Food premises and equipment. We have suitable design and maintenance of food premises and equipment is essential to prevent hazard of contamination and multiplication of bacteria. As a result of the following should be ensured: food storage and preparation and storage areas should be large enough to site all equipment. In some persons having some inadequate space, and that could compromise safety because your waste is here, where you are debuffing. So there's a need for space, adequate space for food handling, food preparation. Raw food preparation areas and high food risk preparation areas should be provided with separate equipment, utensils, hand and material wash areas, and then separate area for debossing should also be provided. It's all about the food premises and equipment, having adequate space and appropriate equipment. Most times we also have what called color coded. You color code your working areas for fresh food, for raw food, for cooked food, for storage, you know. Then adequate refrigeration is also important. We need to have also adequate cooking facilities so that you don't keep waiting for one food to get ready before you start the order. It might get spoiled. Insect and rodent are denied access. Ensure that there is no access to any form of insect. They cause the working environment. We also have suitable and clean welfare facilities, adequate drainage, adequate air conditioning necessary, high standard of lighting. Then your walls, your ceiling surfaces should be light to show off dust. If there's any form of hard wearing, waterproof, or non-flaky, hard surfaces and easy to clean. The food environment must be constantly clean. Cobwebs, breaking part of the paint and all that could be avoided so that it doesn't fall into the food when being prepared. Then we have storage and disposal of waste. Suitable containers and polythene sacks should be provided for the disposal of waste. Okay, food waste containers should be used and emptied regularly after each day. Don't allow your food to stay overnight in your food preparation area. That's what attracts the insect or the rodents. Waste bins should have tight fitting lids and should never overflow. Don't allow them to get filled up. Reusable waste containers should be thoroughly cleaned before being brought back into the food area. These are mistakes a lot of persons do, and all outside waste areas should be kept clean and tidy always. Okay, and should be washed after handling waste. Disposal of waste. Each time you handle waste, make sure you take care of your hand. Equipment and utensils used for food business should be designed and constructed to minimize aberrant bacteria, and there should be an effective cleaning and disinfection. The use of non-rusting utensils. We have stainless steels. Then we have separate equipment such as slicers, vacuum packers, and mincers is provided for raw food and ready-to-eat food. In the case where you may not be able to provide all of these double standard equipment, but thorough cleaning and washing before it is being used for the cooked food, if it can be used for raw food. Then we also have that equipment should be mobile. That will facilitate its removal for cleaning. Under most of your cooking system, your refrigerators, they're usually kept. So let there be mobile, movable situation so that they can easily move them avoid manual handling, and then clean underneath. Equipment guards should be capable of being thoroughly clean. The guards of your equipment should also be clean. Don't forget, when cleaning, I think it's ahead of us, when cleaning, they need to make sure that if they are electrical equipment, they are disconnected, they are put off before you can watch it so that avoid the electrical hazard. Then we have food pest control. Food pest control. At this point, let us watch part of our clip again. Then we'll continue with that. Okay.
Is the single most important way to prevent the spread of diseases. Proper hand washing prevents the spread of microorganisms from one food to another, that is cross-contamination, and from your body to the food. The proper way of hand washing is wet your hands with warm running water. Add liquid soap. Do not use bar soap. Rub your hands together to make a soapy lather. Do this away from the running water for at least 15 to 20 seconds. Being careful not to wash away the lather, rub your hands together, the fronts and the back of your hands as well as thumbs between your fingers and under your nails. Rinse your hands under warm running water. Dry your hands with a clean paper towel. Turn off the tap with a paper towel. This is a place where most of them make mistakes. That is, people throw the paper towel in the bin and close the tap with bare hands. The tap should be closed with using the paper towel. Hand washing in the kitchen must be done in a separate designated hand washing sink. This is to prevent contamination of sink and food or utensils that may be washed in them. This hand washing sink must be located close to where the food handling is performed in order to encourage its use. Now let's see when to wash hands. Handling raw food, touching hair, face, etc. Sneezing or coughing, smoking or chewing gums, eating or drinking, cleaning, after handling money if at the counter, after going to the toilet or washroom. Next is, can you work near food area if you're sick? If you're working near food when you're sick, in particular if you have diarrhea or vomiting, you're putting the safety of food at risk. When you're ill, the body is producing and discharging even more pathogens than when they are healthy. People with symptoms such as diarrhea, vomiting, jaundice, persistent coughing or sneezing must not handle food or wash dishes. They must stay at home. Therefore, if you have diarrhea, then you must stay at home and you must not return to work until 48 hours after the diarrhea clears up. This is because while you may feel better, the microorganisms are still present in your body and could spread to the food. Do not work near open food and report to your supervisor if you are suffering from illness that affects the safety of food. Next is cleaning and sanitizing. Regular cleaning and sanitizing of all food contact surfaces is an essential step in controlling the number of microorganisms present in a food premise. Cleaning refers to the removal of dirt which may contain or hide microbes. Proper cleaning is accomplished with the use of detergents, that is soap, which help lift dirt off and keep it in the water. Damp wiping cloths provide the perfect place for the microorganisms to grow. Wiping with a dirty cloth just spreads bacteria around. Launder them regularly and after they touch juices from raw meat. Sanitizing. Sanitizers are essential because they help to kill most of the organisms present. There are many different kinds of sanitizers available from many different manufacturers. The active ingredient in this sanitizer is usually one of the chemicals listed in the table, that is iodine, with a concentration of 25 parts per million and a water temperature of 24 degrees Celsius and a contact time of 45 seconds. Coming to chlorine, concentration of 100 parts per million with a water temperature of 24 degrees Celsius and a contact time of 45 seconds. One of the most readily available and cheapest sanitizer, which is the active ingredient, is bleach. To make a solution of 100 parts per million of chlorine, mix 10 ml, that is 2 teaspoons of bleach for every 4 liters of water. For chemical sanitizing, test strips must be available. Few points to be noted are: clean as you go. Kitchen staff must keep working areas and equipments clean and hygienic all the time. Proper method should be followed in the area of cleaning and sanitizing as: discard any food stuff or spoilage left on the work surface. Clean with soap solution and scrub. Clean with lukewarm water. Then use a sanitizer in the proportion mentioned. Food should always be placed on a clean surface. Use correct cleaning products and equipment. Store cleaning products in the cleaning store. Next is pest control. Insects and rodents are more than just gross. They are capable of spreading disease-causing organisms. Rodents and insects transport dirt and microbes on their feet, hairs and feces, all of which may end up in spoiling a food product. The premise for insect and rodent control is simple: deny them food and shelter. Once an infestation is started, it is very hard to contain it completely, so prevention is very important. As a food handler, you have the responsibility to report any signs of pests. Few points to be noted are: for rodents and insects, look for signs like footprints, droppings, webbing on packages, torn packages, etc. If you find any, report to the supervisor or in charge so that they can take immediate action. Screen doors and windows to keep flies out. Inform if you see holes in the premises. Check deliveries for infestations. Eliminate water and food sources. Fix leaky faucets and do not leave water in sinks or buckets. Rotate stock and use first in, first out. Keep food covered. Keep garbage covered. Coming to waste disposal. To prevent attracting pests, the correct waste disposal procedure should be followed. Use bins provided. When bins are filled, inform the kitchen steward to remove and clean it. Make sure waste bin is covered. Wash hands after handling waste. Let us revise what we have learned in today's session. Food safety, its functions and side effects. Handling food temperature as a best practice. Danger zone temperatures. Different sources food passed through to consume. that is purchasing, storage, cooking, and serving, personal hygiene, that is hygienic practice and unhygienic practices, hand washing techniques and when to wash hands. Can you work near food area if you're sick? Cleaning and sanitation, pest control, and waste disposal.
Okay, once again, welcome back to slides. Like I mentioned, we are going to ensure that you get all of this material and other materials will be made available to you for those of us that will go a step further. For those of us that will go a step further to do a registration for the certification. I guess our information is displayed now. Get in touch with us through an email, on Facebook, on Instagram, and then we have our WhatsApp number there. You can get us WhatsApp. You send us your email or get a WhatsApp. We're going to send you the question, the test question. That's a test for certification. So it's certain that you have the right information, and if you are not, we can still get back to brush you up just to make sure that you're on track. So get in touch with us and on here this media, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram. You can send us a mail. You can also check us on our webpage, and then we're going to get you the question. Then the payment we mentioned from 25,000 to 15,000 naira for 3 certification, UK, HSC level, food safety level 1, level 2, and HACCP. We're going to do that as well today, taken by Mr. Gidadu from NAFDAC. So definitely show us, those of us who are going to go further, take note of the information and get in touch with us for certification process. Meanwhile, we continue our slide. We are talking about pest control. These are animals or insects that live or eat on our food. They are destructive, they are nuisance, they contaminate and poison our food. And they do that by their droppings, their hairs, their eggs, their vomit, some such irritating as seen sometimes. Common pests in the food industry, we could have rodents, we have insects, we have birds, all of these insects, that's cockroaches and other centipedes and ants, they can all be nuisance to us. Timmy and Grace, we're going to attend to your question. We're going to attend to questions. Just give us some time. How do you pests need security, shelter, and food? So how do you control them? You control them by denying them of food and arborate, denying them of access. Doors and windows should be kept closed or screened with mesh to prevent access. Protect the bottom of your wooden doors with metal plates. Some of them can hit into wooden stuff. Your access holes should be sealed up as well. You shut down all their accessibilities. They don't get access to, they say the rat that usually is caught is a rat that has only one hole. So when they have several holes, they have a way of accessing your kitchen, your galley, your mess, whatever area you're cooking your food, preparing your food. Ensure proper handling and disposal of waste. That's what attracts them. And the food should be stored off the floor. You have items to carry them, not on the floor. Of course, regular inspection of our facilities will help know when these things are happening and they put control measures. Okay. The next discussion is on cleaning and disinfection. The video also mentioned that the need for cleaning and disinfection. Soiling of equipment and the surfaces is unavoidable, so effective cleaning and disinfection will remove hazard from food handling areas. Hence, to actualize this, we need to understand that we have cleaning, disinfection, and sanitizing. This cleaning is a process of removing residues, dirt, grease, oil from items or surfaces, and the chemical used is a detergent. We use detergent to clean, and disinfection, process of reducing microorganisms to a safe level. The chemical we use to do this is disinfectant, microorganism, more like biological agent, and sanitizing. This is a detergent and a disinfectant combined. It takes care of biological agent, it takes care of other hazardous materials that can be sanitized. All biological items will be dead if you use an appropriate sanitizer. And then the bleach, the normal bleach was advertised or was emphasized to be used. Cleaning and disinfection, the use of mops and brooms. Make sure you store them away from food areas, keep in good condition. Every time they are being used, make sure they are cleaned and they allow them to dry. Let them not be wet all the time. You know, we all mentioned the last time that some of these biological agents survive when there's wet environment, when there's food for them, when they give them time. So allow them to dry, eliminating them. Again, don't empty your bucket or clean mops in the hand basin in your kitchen. They should be taken outside, not to contaminate your sinks. After cleaning, the use of hot water, 82 degrees Celsius or chemical disinfectant are used to destroy bacteria that remain. However, disinfectant needs time and appropriate contact to be effective. What I do most times, you very hot water for purpose of cleaning the pipes, just use to flush your sink. It has a way, if you have seen what is inside, you know that it's very irritating. So use hot water to flush off your sinks once in a while. It has a way of flushing down, so that they don't creep into the kitchen through that little holes. And then when using your disinfectant or cleaning agent, please avoid an accident. Read the labels of cleaning agents before they are used. Always store cleaning chemicals separately so that they don't contaminate or come in contact with food. Cleaning chemicals must be diluted properly for those that need to be diluted. Those that need to directly use it, if you dilute it, the potency will be destroyed, and so it's no longer effective. Switch off and unplug electrical equipment before cleaning. I've mentioned that to avoid electrocution. Do not pour liquid into electrical equipment during cleaning. You might have cleaned and there's water that has not dried. If you put it on, there is going to be a problem. A spark, so don't pour water. Be careful as you clean some electrical equipment. Cleaning equipment used in toilet must not be used in food areas, and then develop and maintain a cleaning program. That's a roster on who does cleaning, and that will enable you check if they're effective, if they are done. If there is no such system, it becomes very difficult to monitor. We have different steps in cleaning: the pre-clean, the main clean, the rinsing stage, and then you disinfect, final cleaning, and drying. These steps are conventional, but we have the pre-clean and main clean can be mixed and fused together. After washing, hot water and detergent, you rinse it. Then you can disinfect, the use of disinfectants or sanitizers in the water. Then you dry them up. These are steps of how to clean food, working environment, and utensils. Okay, at this point, we are going to have other analysis critical control points. I'll show us a very short clip on it, and then Mr. Gidato from NAFDAC will take over from here. I'll be sharing the slide from, and then you'll be taking over from here, the remaining concluding parts. But let's watch a short clip on that.
Million people suffer from food poisoning each year. For 3,000 of those people, it's fatal. Why is foodborne illness still so prevalent today, in spite of incredible advances in technology and medicine? The ironic fact is, 600 million people suffer from food poisoning each year. For 3,000 of those people, it's fatal. Why is foodborne illness still so prevalent today, in spite of incredible advances in technology and medicine? The ironic fact is, it's that same advancement that has enabled foodborne illnesses to thrive. Over the last 50 years, technology and globalization have made it easier for people to travel, trade, and explore new culture. Unfortunately, we've also extended that offer to foodborne pathogens. For example, E. coli has amplified over the last 35 years, which closely mirrors the time frame during which long-term, large-scale shipping has become mainstream. All of these advancements have also strengthened foodborne pathogens. When E. coli was first identified, it produced only the common food poisoning symptoms, but now the strain is far more damaging to the victim's kidneys and even resistant to antibiotics. For food processors, HACCP plans are the best way to protect consumers and prevent outbreaks of foodborne illness. HACCP is an approach to maximizing food safety through identifying biological, chemical, and physical hazards that could render food unsafe, as well as monitoring food products through all stages of processing to ensure safe conditions are maintained. HACCP plans are vital to consumer safety and company credibility. To create a HACCP plan, you must first conduct a hazard analysis by determining any potential hazards that may exist in the operating environment. A few examples of potential hazards might include raw and cooked foods stored in close proximity, limited hand washing stations, or an unsanitary storage environment. Next, identify critical control points. A critical control point is a point, step, or procedure in a food process at which control can be applied to. Create a list of these critical control points. Now it's time to employ the most critical asset to a HACCP plan: data loggers. Data loggers can record the temperature and humidity through all steps of shipping and processing. As part of the HACCP plan, a data monitoring protocol should be created, outlining all aspects of data collection. This document should define the acceptable range of temperature and humidity levels, as well as how long it is acceptable to remain at certain levels. Another aspect to note is the rate at which the data logger will collect the readings. Then, determine the areas in which data loggers should be placed. Loggers should be placed at all critical control points, cooler and storage facilities, and in all other areas food or beverages are processed. Note how many data loggers of each type you require to monitor each designated food processing zone. Another document to add to your HACCP plan is a corrective actions protocol. In this, you should outline the actions that will be taken if thresholds of desired readings are exceeded, or safety of the food is otherwise compromised. Record keeping is a vital element of a HACCP plan. All plans regarding food safety and data monitoring should be properly documented and updated when changes are made. HACCP-compliant record keeping will include the following documents: a written HACCP plan, the hazard analysis, the identified critical control points, the parameter thresholds, monitoring and verification procedures, record-keeping procedures, flowcharts, and the corrective actions protocol. MatchTech offers a complete line of real-time data logging devices to make the monitoring process as easy and as automated as possible. Temperature and humidity data can be wirelessly transmitted to MatchTech's free software. The software can automatically translate data into graphs and organize data tables for easy record keeping and analysis. User-defined thresholds can be set to automatically alert you in the event of an out-of-range reading. Alerts can even be sent to your mobile device, granting peace of mind when you're away from the facility. Minimum, maximum, and average statistics can be displayed for each channel for a quick overview of each monitoring environment. With a free MatchTech cloud account, you can remotely manage loggers from anywhere in the world with any internet-enabled device. MatchTech also offers options for extreme high and low temperatures to monitor products during any stage of processing.
let's have Mr. Gidado. Can you come on board, please?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Oh.
Introduce yourself and get started, sir. Gidado, are you there? Hello, Gidado. Hola, are you getting me?
Hello?
Yeah, it's not Vitoro.
Hello, Gidado is on.
Sorry?
Is Gidado on?
Yeah, Gidado is back.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we are with you.
Okay, good morning all.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Okay, okay. I'm trying to get my video on so that I can see the slide. Alright.
Okay, are you sharing from there or you are using my screen?
No, I'm using your screen.
Okay.
I'm using your screen, but I'm trying to get back to the slide, but I can't see the video.
Mr. Online, are you seeing the HACCP slide?
Yes, I can see the HACCP slide.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm trying to see the HACCP slide, but I still have a slide here, but I don't know that I can go on.
If you have the slide with you, just go on. It's going to follow up.
Okay. So I've tried to put on my video, but I don't know that you can see me.
Yes, you can see you now.
Yes, we can.
So introduce
Okay.
yourself and get started with the slide.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good morning, all.
Good morning.
My name is Babayo Gidado Sambara. I'm a principal regulatory officer with National Agency for Food, Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC. I can say I'm UK Food Safety Certified Level 1 and 2, and also HACCP certified. And also, I've been in the industry for a while, for like about 10 years, based on my experience. So presently, I think I'm good to go. But before then, I want to thank Galaxie for the opportunity, and also Mr. West for giving me the opportunity to share with you guys, and also everybody participating in this training. Is a great opportunity. Like I said, is a career path, and also is a good one if you choose to go into it. So for those of us already in the industry, I think what we need to do is to encourage the practice and also the industry also. So without much waste of time, I'll just go ahead. Though before I will go ahead, I have to tell you some few things about the history of HACCP, which stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. Based on the history about it, it was developed when man wanted to go to the space. A group of team of organizations and industries, especially food scientists and engineers, come together to put up. It was then fully accepted in the it was started in the 1950s, fully accepted in the 1980s by FDA, which is now being adopted and implemented in all the process of food industry because it has worked. So it's a very good thing. And also, it must not be, your business must not be that big. You can implement it. It's a small process. You can do it. And also, what is the benefit? The benefit is very critical, is very important. If you don't know the importance of a thing, abusing is inevitable. So I think we have to know the main benefit of HACCP or HACCP. One, it saves your business. It saves your business. That is, it saves you money from long time run, because when you are in business, you are trying to save money to make profit. So HACCP helps you save money, and also it avoids you poisoning your customers. It also gives you food safety standard to increase your profitability in terms of business, and also give you insurance and also compliance to laws. Also, food quality standard increases, organizing your process for safety, and also your staff promoting teamwork and efficiency, and also due diligence in court cases whereby there's any court cases of food poisoning, you can also defend yourself. These are the few things I wanted to add, but I'm going straight to the slide now. I hope you can hear me all.
Yes, we can hear you.
So, so from our definition, we say food safety management. HACCP is a food safety management system which helps in identifying and controlling hazards in food industry at a critical control point to minimize the risk of food poisoning or food complaints, and it ensures food safety. What we mean by this is, in every industry or in every industry, we have the management system. Like in HSC, you have the HSC management system. In quality, you have the quality management system. So in terms of food management system, HACCP is the main anchor point of food safety. So you can't do without HACCP, which is the main management system of the food industry. So records and documentations for trainings, deliveries, temperature monitoring, pest controls, customer complaints, and cleaning schedules are very important to demonstrate your compliance to the HACCP system, which are very key. You have to have your records, you have to do your documentations for your trainings, for your delivery of goods, your temperature monitoring.
Are we there? I guess the network issue from Gidado.
Yeah, we lost a signal from him.
Wow. Okay, while Gidado is I saw one of the chats, somebody said if our contacts, she didn't see the contact, so I'm going to show it again. I think Gidado is having network issues. We're going to show the contacts to Ross again. Once again.
Hello, I'm back. Hello.
Okay, we are hearing you.
Okay. So, okay, Wes, can you go to the next slide for me?
Okay.
Next slide, please.
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah, like I said, okay, thank you very much. I can see you. So, like I said, it's very critical and it's very good. We adopt the HACCP. Part of this course, at the end of the main anchor, if you don't take anything, please take this one as the main thing, because this is where the work lies. So, for you not to do something in the food industry, you must understand the basic principle of the HACCP. All food business operators must implement a food safety management system based on the 7 principles. We are going to look at the 7 principles of the HACCP, that is the HACCP. It has to have these 7 principles, which is the critical thing you must have. Which was the critical thing you must know. So the first thing is we know what is a hazard. We say hazard is anything that has a potential to cause harm. So anything that has potentials to cause harm, we know it in the business. So first thing is you have to identify all the hazards and the control points and the control measures to prevent these things going wrong. So what we mean here is you must identify all the hazards involved in the business, all the hazards involved in the production. Like I wanted to take a simple process like in Gary production. What are the hazards involved in production of Gary? Simple. One, you can look at it overage roots, spoilage of the cassava roots, and using dirty water to wash the cassava. These are the hazards. You can be able to identify the things you can see, the things that you know can cause a problem in the production process. You identify them, you list them out. That is the first thing you need to do. That's the first principle, number one. The second principle is identify the critical control points in the food preparation or production of food, which must be controlled as they are critical to food safety. What are the critical things? The critical things, the critical points, the critical at each steps, you know what are the critical things. You know, like I'm still talking with Gary, I still go with the Gary. Once you identify them, you now look at them like fresh cassava roots are very critical. If you don't have a fresh cassava root, you cannot achieve your production process. In the cooking, in the restaurants, if your foods, your raw materials, your meats, your frozen chickens are not fresh, are not good, you cannot achieve a quality food. Definitely, you cannot achieve that. So you have to look at it, you have to line it out. And when you are now establishing those critical control points, the way you do it, you based on your flow chart of your production, you list it out like CCP1, critical control point 1, critical control point 2, critical control point 3. I'm going more into details, but I want everybody to have a good background, a good understanding. So identify the critical control points. Like in cassava, you must have a fresh cassava root delivered to you from the farm. So what are the potentials or the quality defects like overage root, spoiled root of the cassava? If you have those things, they are what? They are critical. They are the potentials to the hazard. They are very critical. So you have to look at it. Like washing of the tubers. When you use a dirty water or a stream water that is not being treated, you have transferred some pathogenic organisms into the cassava production process. So they are very critical. These are the critical control points. I'm trying to make it more simpler and better way we can understand. Then we need to establish the next principle is principle number 3, establish a critical control limit. Though some of those hazards cannot be totally eliminated, but we have to consider a limit at which those hazards must be controlled. We cannot control it completely. We cannot say it, we can eliminate it completely. Like we have on the slide, e.g. cooking food at a core temperature of 75 degrees centigrade, like which means that is a normal temperature that you are sure that there's no any pathogen, because we know we have the danger zone in the temperature, we have the normal zone, both the normal zones, which is the 75 degrees above hot food hot and cold food cold, as low as 5 degrees centigrade. So these ones are what are critical control points while we are establishing the critical control limits. So we have to have a limit that hot food should be at 75 degrees centigrade. So like in fresh cassava, you must make sure that there's not any form of overage roots, and also selection must be done proper. That is a critical control, at least a critical control limit. You are now established. Make sure that the roots must be between 10 to 12 months old from harvest time. So you don't keep old cassava roots so that you don't have high content of carcinogen substances like the cyanide into your cassava production process. Then in terms of the restaurants, you make sure that your food is well cooked, which you have your temperature control. It should not be above 75 degrees centigrade, and it should not be below it when hot food is supposed to be. So the next is the fourth principle, that is establish a monitoring procedure to each critical control point. You have to establish a monitoring process. How do we monitor those things? That's why we have the temperature log, data log. You record your temperatures, all the temperature that you are taking, the temperature of the from you generated from the probe. You record them, you monitor them. You have a monitoring process. You use the KPIs, the key performance indicators. What are those things that we need to look at? In terms of cassava production, you look at the whiteness of the cassava. You look at the appearance, the physical appearance of your food when you are receiving them from the point of receiving. You look at what are those things. You look at the key things, the key monitoring, key factors in terms of your monitoring process, because these are the critical things you need to monitor: the temperature, the physical appearance, also the necessary things that you see physically, and also the records of your temperature monitorings and other things you put in place to check all the processes you have. Then the fifth thing is you establish a critical control action. That at that point, you are now going to establish a critical control action. That is your limit at which it should not go above that particular limit. Let's say, for instance, you have your product should not go above a particular moisture or a particular temperature of 5 degrees centigrade. So you make sure that it doesn't go above that temperature. So once it goes above that thing, that means it's out of limit. So you have to check it. Something is wrong. So you have to check your critical, you have to establish all the corrective actions with the limit, with a benchmark at which those things, if those things are going out of point, that means something is wrong somewhere. Now, the sixth thing is to establish a verification process. How do we verify those things, whether they are working for us? After we have visited all the critical control points, after we have monitored it, after we have put on all the corrective actions. The corrective actions can be eliminating some of those things, can be buying PPEs for your staffs, it can be training. All these ones are corrective actions. It can be changing your equipment. All these things are things that you need to look at. It can be improving your level of hygiene, maybe cleaning and other things. You need to change your protocol of cleaning. So all these ones are critical corrective actions, or you need to adopt another. So we have to know those procedures. We need to verify them. Are they working? So verification, we have to come and see. You have to come and see it. You look at it. Is this procedure working? You check whether there's improvement in terms of supplies, improvement in terms of implementations of your procedures, your processes, implementations of all the things you have put in place to check those things in terms of temperatures and other process. Then the last thing is your documentation. It says in a quality management system, it says anything without documentation, nothing has been carried out. So you have to document all you're doing for the process of the HACCP system. For purpose of review to ensure compliance, you have to document it.
Wow, like we've lost lives.
To write them down. They are different. These are the 7 principles of the HACCP, which is the backbone of the food safety management system. It's very critical. You must know those 7 processes. It's critical. Now, the next thing we're looking at is to look at the guidelines on how to establish these 7 principles, which is very critical. The guidelines, we look at it, is very critical. We have to look at how the guidelines. Number 1, we have to assemble a team of people that will be involved. In organizations, you want to assemble a team, you make sure that those people in these teams knows the process. Sometimes it's not only the management people, even the people that are carrying out the procedures, the people that are preparing the food, people that are cooking, people that are in the restaurants, people, the people that are even doing the cleaning jobs should be part of those teams. It's not a management team. It's for everybody. You carry everybody, select individuals within the organization to assemble so that you can form a team that can monitor all the process. Then the next thing is you describe the product. Which product are we looking at? If it is a bread production, if it is the cooking, if it is the baking, whatever process you're looking at, you describe it. You describe what you want to achieve. You describe why are we looking at this product. You describe your product. What products are we looking at? Is it the bread? Is it the cooking? Is it any of the product you are looking at? Then you identify the intended use. Why are we intending to use this? Why? You bring down your team to identify all the hazard, all the intended use for the purpose of this HACCP. Then the next thing is you construct a chart flow. Mostly you must have a production flow from the receiving to the finished product. From where you are receiving your product to the finished product, you must have a chart flow. You must have a production flow. You draw out your production flow from the beginning, from the receiving of the cassava from the farm to the packaging of the product, to the packaging of the gari. That is, you must have a chart flow because each of the flow you must have a hazard to identify there. Then the fifth one is you have to go to the on-site verification of the production flow. You must go into each product. You must go into each of the flow chart. You must go in. You must identify from the production, packaging, everything, storage, logistics, all the production process. You must visit it. In the factory, you must visit where they are receiving the raw materials, where they are peeling it, where they are washing it, where they are drying it, where all you must go there and do a site visit to look at the production flow. Then you have to list all the potential hazard and conduct the hazard analysis.
Okay,
and determine the critical control points, which is the 7. You determine the critical control points. Then you need to establish the limits, which you have said it. Then you need to monitor your system for each of the critical control points. Then you establish a corrective action, all the corrections, all the things that need to be corrected. Like I said, maybe it can be just change of equipment, can be buying of PPEs for your staffs, can be training. Any way you can look at it as a corrective action. Then you have to verify the procedures. After training the people, is this training working? Is that change of process or change of attitudes and other things you are looking at for verification process? Then you now establish and keep records and documentation, which are the major things you look out for while carrying out the HACCP critical control points. And it's very key. It's very simple, but when presenting it, people will look at it very distant. And I think words has not been seen in like Galaxie also can do on-site trainings. They can come to your factory or your business environment and do training for you guys, and also do a kind of an audit and look at all your process to help you build a quality food management standard. So I think that's all I can say for now. Thank you very much, Mr. West, for the opportunity. And if there's questions, and I'm ready to take them. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, wow. Thank you very much, Mr. Gidado.
Thank you very much, sir.
We have, thank you, it's a pleasure. We had calls to meet most NAFDAC personnel and the state director, so there are other officers. It's a pleasure. I'm happy you were here to say this. Okay.
Thank you.
I hope you see how you're not done. You're not gone. You're not out of the system. I'm going to wrap up the remaining part, so I'm running out of time.
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah. I'm still on. Yeah, I'm still on.
Let me quickly take the later part of the slides, and then we'll now take question and answer section. Show the contact again. Mr. Guidado summarized or talked about HACCP, hazard analysis, critical control point. Just by the way, let me also mention that we also have HACCP, threat analysis, critical control point. We also have VACCP, what's called VACCP, vulnerability analysis, critical control point. But that's on one side. Our emphasis today is HACCP. For those of us who might be thinking it's a very complex process. Yes, the system, ISO 22001, is a system that needed to be instituted in most organizations. But as a young food industry, maybe I know some food entrepreneurs are here, you don't need to kill yourself because you don't have that such a system. It's a gradual thing and you get to that point as you grow. But for the now, is to understand that there's such system, get your workers trained, and when you get to that level, it will be easy for you to flow. Why, as individuals, why do you need HACCP? You need it because if a company is to pick you up or hire you, as it were, they want to be aware, they want to be rest assured that you have idea about the HACCP. The company may take you to come and implement in their company, so you have knowledge and then you can domesticate, you can practicalize it in the organization. It's interesting. It's a circle, the system that needed to be implemented for qualitative food, avoidance of prevention of food poisoning situation. Well, I also showed us a clip on that. Like we said, we have more materials on all of that, more videos. Time will not allow us to release all what we have, to you. So, but for the meantime, let's wrap up our slide. The next we have is food purchase and storage. Food purchase and storage. It's important to only purchase food from suppliers who have demonstrated commitment to high standard of food hygiene. You don't buy your food from any quarters. You must be sure where you are getting it from. During purchase, specify the standard and quality of product required, including the delivery temperature. Some food gets spoiled before you purchase. It's not. It's already bad from the source, and so whatever you do, it's more like a damage control. So ensure that we buy branded products, original branded products. Don't buy them. They're cheaper, they're larger, but you can't guarantee their quality. So you buy a branded product. Delivery of food items should be at the right temperature, especially frozen food. But get your delivery at the right temperature. And some of us that buy things in the night where you are not able to ascertain some of these qualities. Night purchase is 50-50. You're not very sure most of the time because you're not seeing clearly what you're buying. Some are spoiled and they are frozen. How do you know? All food should be inspected before placing in storage. Delivery should be checked for freshness, temperature, colors, odors, contamination, infestation, satisfactory packing and labeling. Take your time and ensure that you have the right material. You are paying for it, so you should have the best of it and reject where necessary. That's first point there. Reject contaminated food. Don't compromise. If you compromise, it will affect you. Reject frozen food that are not solid. They are not. They are thawing. They are becoming defrost. Reject food with damaged packaging or no expiring date. No expiring date. Look for a way to clean it up. Sometimes some sharp people will go and or dubious people, fraudulent people will change the expiring date, extend it. Or if you are critical, you understand that I've bought a product mayonnaise that was coated. It's a different company, and then they used the brand that we all know and then coated it. I just observed when I went to a supermarket, so we must be careful where we buy our stuff. Keep stores for dry food always dry. Food should be stored away from damp walls or pipes so that they don't get wet. And a separate store dedicated for storing chemicals. Chemicals must be stored separately to avoid chemical hazard in our food. Staff should be trained to store food correctly. We mentioned that first in, first out. But there are also some few times where we have last in, first out. Last in, first out. There are some conditions that requires this, but most of the time it's first in, first out principle FIFO. Then high-risk perishable food should be transported and stored under refrigeration to prevent bacteria multiplying. That's also important. Okay. Then we have refrigerators usually operate within 1 to 4 degrees Celsius, should have temperature display for effective monitoring of internal temperature. That's very correct. You might think your refrigerator is on, is working, but it's not actually working. I've suffered some loss as a result of that. It's on, but things are getting spoiled. So possibly get a refrigerator that has a display, the temperature display, not just that it's on, it's lightning. I mean, the lights are on, but that the actual temperature is where it should be. Temperatures on refrigerators should be recorded at least twice daily, while the actual food temperature should be checked, recorded weekly. Ensure food is safely stored in refrigerators, and the new stock should be placed behind old stock. That's still talking about our first in, first out principle. Care should be taken when storing food. We mentioned the other time that we don't just store food in the room temperature. We put them in the fridge. If let them gradually thaw in the fridge temperature condition, not in the room temperature. The danger zone temperature could get it spoiled faster. When for storing food, refrigerators must not be every fridge has its capacity, and that's why we said you should have adequate for food environment, have adequate quantity of this equipment so that you don't overload it. The frosting and cleansing should be done in line with the manufacturer's specification. Food should be placed in another refrigerator while cleaning is ongoing. And the commercial freezer should be operated within -18 degrees Celsius or slightly low. Delivered frozen food should be transferred to freezers quickly so that they maintain their core temperature. Food should not be stored above the freezer load line. That's still emphasizing on not overloading our fridge, our storage facilities, you know. So at this point, do we have any? We'll entertain questions. Those that can raise their hand. Ola, I don't know how you're going to help now. If it can be typed so that Ola will be reading for us and be informing us about it. Those are food as a training food Minaj Catering, the leading food catering organization in the south side here. And then that's in Lagos, a class in Lagos we had. This is a class in SPDC. Okay, and then we had a section with this, what is the Sinopec, the Chinese company. That's by the way. So, Ola, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So I don't know if there are questions that have been typed. You will help us to.
We're yet to receive any questions yet. Okay, we can see the details now.
Okay. So, do we have questions from participants? We still have 23 persons on with us right away. I can see a question.
Okay. They still can't see the contacts, so probably you should still leave the contact.